Welcome back to the Truth Factory. Now, when I was a kitten, I envisioned the future with flying cars and robot maids. I guess we have Roombas now, and whatever it is Elon Musk made that's probably going to crash into an asteroid belt anyway. But let's just be honest. The future, for the most part, has been pretty disappointing. Except for maybe one great invention called the Internet, which is a series of tubes invented by Al Gore.
I took the initiative in creating the Internet.
The Internet has replaced almost all annoying human interaction and has become a modern necessity for communication. It's also an addicting virtual haven where everyone has an equal opportunity to force their dickhead opinions onto others. At least it was, up until now. Meet the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Perhaps you're already acquainted with these shadowy totalitarian speech dictators who have been working with all of your favorite social media platforms in order to scrub the internet clean of hate. And by hate, what they really mean is when you hurt people's feelings, which at this rate will be a crime punishable by death by 2020. Now, these organizations are the reason for the recent purge of conservative and conspiracy YouTubers. Even though YouTube has said that this was just an accident, this was more than likely a beta test of the ADL's new hate speech index. The ADL recently admitted their creepy agenda in a very eerie video explaining how they're using AI technology to crack down on internet hate speech and to censor you for thought crimes. But don't worry, thanks to the reassuring soft piano music, it somehow makes you feel okay that they're monitoring and filtering your every word like an Orwellian nightmare.
ADL and the University of California at Berkeley's D-Lab have been working to develop a new approach to tackle online hate using the latest methods.
So basically, we built these Antifa bots to scan through your shit and determine if you're Hitler.
And to use that information to address the problem. By combining artificial intelligence and machine learning with social science, the online hate index will ultimately uncover and identify trends and patterns in hate speech across different platforms.
By problem, she's talking about you and myself, and you're not allowed to say any of those words in those colorful bubbles anymore, like Jew, or women, or old white people, because racists use words, and therefore words are racist. Sorry, bigots.
We've just completed our first phase of research, and we found that the machine learning model identified hate speech accurately between 78 and 85% of the time.
Now, if that AI were a high school student, it would have a 2.7 GPA and would only be able to get into community college. But don't look at those huge margins of error. Just let our substandard AI decide what thoughts of yours it should erase based on how many times you said the word old. Get over it, you dirty ageist.
In the next phase of our project, we will look at specific targeted populations in a more detailed manner.
In the next phase of our project, we'll send a drone to your house to euthanize you with coconut-scented knockout gas. If you don't do anything wrong, you have nothing to fear. We're here to protect you from yourself. So stay where you are, Nazi. The drone is on its way.
We believe the online hate index will help tech companies better understand the extent of hateful content on their platforms by creating community-based definitions of hate speech.
Why do they need to create community-based definitions of hate speech? Why not just, use the First Amendment as a guide? If you need to delete or ban all arguments that go against your narrative for you to be right, maybe you're actually wrong. The ADL and the SPLC's motives are transparent. They're political organizations that use religion and identity politics as a smokescreen so they can call anyone who disagrees with them a bigot. The ADL is not a race or a religion, and it is not immune to legitimate criticism, which is why they need to be exposed. In 2013, J. M. Berger, an author, researcher, and former Brookings Institution expert, wrote that the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ADL are not objective purveyors of data. This is because the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center inflate their numbers to make it look like hate and anti-Semitic crime rates are far worse than they actually are. For example, the ADL counts these tombstones that were knocked over in a Jewish graveyard as an anti-Semitic attack, even though the police confirmed that they were damaged from environmental causes. The wind isn't anti-Semitic, and it's just like the inflated data I've seen from the feminist movement. The real statistics of these targeted crimes are bad enough. But when you create statistics based on inaccurate data, it just discredits your organization and actually does more harm than good. For another example of this, the ADL's CEO Jonathan Greenblatt, who was a special assistant to Barack Obama, just last week commented on the more than 150 bomb threats from last year made to Jewish community centers, schools, and the ADL themselves, by stating, "Make no mistake, these threats were an act of anti-Semitism and deserve to be treated as a hate crime."
Yeah, so the ADL, which is headquartered in Manhattan, got a bomb threat this morning, very similar to the bomb threats that have come in, as you said, to 70 some odd Jewish community centers in 27 states over the past 2 months. It's a frightening moment and it reminds us that the haters and the bigots, they hide in the shadows like cowards, and they seek to terrorize us because of our faith.
The ADL used these numbers to boast that there was a massive surge of anti-Semitic crime in 2017. But what Mr. Greenblatt fails to mention is that those bomb threats turned out to be done by an American-Israeli Jewish teenager named Michael Kadar. To me, not stating that fact is dishonest. Jonathan Greenblatt also has a big liberal bias that showed when he expressed his support for CNN blackmailing a Reddit user who posted a meme they didn't like. Jonathan Greenblatt and other ADL executives have also made comments about their dislike for President Trump. I don't think it's a coincidence that the channels affected by the YouTube purge were largely conservative. And I think it's important to call out organizations that try to infringe on our free speech, especially when their histories are riddled with corruption. The ADL is now policing our morality online, but who is policing theirs? The ADL's very inception in 1913 was based on a murder and rape case involving Leo Frank, the Atlanta president of the Jewish B'nai B'rith. Leo Frank was unanimously found guilty for the strangling and raping of his 13-year-old employee named Mary Fagan. The B'nai B'rith called this a case of anti-Semitism and formed the ADL to stop Jewish hate crimes. From my research into this very interesting case, I believe that Leo Frank is guilty, but to this day the ADL declares that Leo Frank was innocent. Of course the ADL has to push this narrative though, because if Leo was guilty, it means their organization was founded on a convicted pedophile rapist and murderer. But let's fast forward to 1993 when the ADL was busted for a grotesque rap sheet of covert activities, including espionage, illegal surveillance, theft, and the treasonous sale of classified information to a foreign government. The ADL was working with a former San Francisco police officer and former CIA agent named Tom Girard, and also an FBI informant named Roy Bullock, who had spied for the ADL for 32 years. Together, Girard and Bullock stole up to 12,000 individual police files linked to over 600 political activists and politicians from both the right and the left. The ADL used this information to spy on, harass, and intimidate groups like the ACLU, Arab American groups, Greenpeace, right-wing religious groups, and even members of the U.S. Congress, including Nancy Pelosi. Girard and Bullock sold some of this information to the South African government and may have sold or given information to the Israeli intelligence agency, the Mossad. And in an autobiography written by the ADL's general counsel, Arnold Forster, he specifically named the Mossad as having a close connection with the League. The ADL spy scandal was a very big story that was in every newspaper in 1993, yet it's been completely scrubbed from Google's newspaper archives. Isn't that a weird coincidence, since the ADL works with Google? Is this really the organization that should be in charge of monitoring and filtering millions of social media accounts? The ADL is not some little mom-and-pop organization. They have massive political influence around the world and have been the driving force behind several speech laws. They're a corrupt organization that hides behind religion and virtue as a mask to do whatever they want, but just to make sure that it's not actually anti-Semitic to criticize the ADL as an organization, I contacted a rabbi and fellow YouTuber named Joseph Kalikowski for an opinion on this topic. And he said, "I'm not much of a fan of the ADL or B'nai B'rith, but I don't know much about them either, just that they are not religious organizations, or at least not religious in the way that I understand religion. The Southern Poverty Law Center is not any better than the ADL and may even be worse. They're scam artists. The SPLC itself is a hate group that at one point even listed Sleepy Ben Carson under their extremist files list. I like Ben Carson a lot, and there's absolutely nothing extreme about him. The SPLC will list Ben Carson, but they won't list actual domestic terrorists like Antifa. And as far as the SPLC's opinions on race, there is video footage of a speaker from the Southern Poverty Law Center admitting that the current shift in immigration will make whites a minority population in America. She says at this point it's unstoppable and it's been planned for a while.
Limit entirely immigration that you can change the demographics, and you can't, because these are some things that have been planned for a while. So that's what it looks like around 2040, 2050, by 2050 for sure, but probably around 2043 or so.
Who's been planning this for a while? Isn't that creepy? Anyway, these are the left-wing organizations that have current control over what we say, see, and hear on social media. We're no longer treated like adults who can make our own decisions. The internet is now bubble-wrapped whether we like it or not. Social media influences how people think and behave subconsciously. It's a powerful political tool. I mean, there were just dozens of articles pushed out by the mainstream news about how Russian AI used social media to subvert our democracy with hashtags and gays for Bernie coloring books. And that was framed as a travesty, but yet it's okay when those same platforms hire hard left groups to censor specific targeted political opinions and memes. Doesn't that seem like it might have an effect on political influence of our democracy as well? Well, yeah, I guess that's the whole point, right? Thank you for watching. Sorry this video took so long to make. And I want to give a special thanks to Rabbi Joseph Kalikowski, and I will link one of his YouTube videos in the description. I've contacted the ADL, I've contacted the FCC about this. I'm waiting to hear back, but let me know in the comments what you think can be done about this. I have a backup channel on BitChute. There's a link in the description to that. And I'll just keep making videos until I'm not allowed to anymore. Thank you so much and have a great night. Meow.